Hi, mystery writers. Welcome to Write a Killer Mystery. I'm ZaraAltair, and today we're going to talk about Mystery's Magic Triangle, the victim, the villain, and the sleuth. But first, I want to thank my patrons on Patreon for supporting this series and my writing. And so let's hop right to it. The magic triangle. There's a character base in a mystery that is unique to mysteries, and because unlike most novels with a hero and a villain, a protagonist and antagonist, a mystery requires three main characters: the victim, the sleuth, and the villain. And these characters form the base triangle for any mystery, because each of these characters plays a major role in the mystery. And as a writer, you must have all three for the mystery to work. And unlike most other novels, two of these characters are hidden. So the victim's life is revealed slowly to point toward the villain. But at the start of the story, the reader knows nothing about either character. So our job as mystery writers is to educate our readers, one, about the victim, and two, about the villain. And I just want to point out one thing. In a series, there's going to be the same sleuth, but the victim and the villain are going to differ. So the sleuth works to discover the relationship between those two, the victim and the villain, and that leads to that final puzzle piece, the reveal. So when you understand each character, you can build relationships and antagonisms that lead toward the conclusion. And without a strong background, a strong character background for each of these characters, your mystery will fall flat. Your reader may guess the villain before the end. Ooh, no, readers don't like that. They really want you to give them a puzzle. And the victim may not seem worthy of killing. I mean, why did this happen in the first place? And your sleuth won't be challenged. So you've got to work on all three characters. So let's take a look at the victim. The victim is the raison d'etre of every mystery. Without the victim, your sleuth would have nothing to do. No clues to find, no suspects to interview, no puzzle to solve. There would be no mystery. So the victim is the key to getting your mystery, setting up your mystery. And as a writer, you need to build a character background for your victim. I know this is a challenge for new mystery writers. I think of the corpse over there, dead body, but that's not really how it works in a mystery. Even though they have no speaking part, as it were, and appear as a corpse, the victim is the foundation of the mystery. Suspects derive from that victim's circle of friends and enemies, and your sleuth learns about their quirks, their likes and their dislikes, and their personality traits by interviewing the suspects or reading letters as a clue or anything like that. So you have to know about your victim in order to reveal enough about them so that your sleuth can find their killer. And in addition, the first half of your novel is pretty much the sleuth discovering the victim's world. Who are the suspects, and what do they have to say, and what are the clues, and all of those things. It's all related back to the victim and who could possibly have wanted to kill that character. So The reader follows your sleuth's investigation, and along with the sleuth, they form opinions about the victim. They were a despicable human being. They were a seemingly virtuous soul. They were a likable scoundrel. They learn what the victim's personality was like, and they learn that by interviewing the suspects, and each suspect has a different picture of the victim, and especially a different picture they present to the sleuth, because we've talked about this before. Suspects have secrets and lies, even if they aren't necessarily about the victim or the murder itself. So essentially your victim is more than just a dead body. Something they did triggered the murder, and you, the writer, need to know why, so you can, at the end, explain that to your readers. Okay, and on another side of the triangle is the villain. And the challenge for mystery writers is keeping that villain hidden until the end. So in the majority of novels, the protagonist and the antagonist are pretty clear, and they have their battles and conflicts. But in a mystery, you, as the writer, you know who the villain is, and part of your job is to keep that villain hidden until the end. And amazingly enough, the more you know about the villain, the easier it is to hide their actions, to get your sleuth off course, because your villain is setting things up to hide their culpability. And you won't be able to do that unless you know your villain really well. You'll lack the true motivation. It's kind of like Backstory gone wild, except you can only dribble tiny pieces of the villain in the story and the villain's backstory in the story. So you have to know the motivations and the methods of the villain, and you won't be able to keep them secret unless you work really hard on your villain's character background, because they work behind the scenes through most of your novel. You're going to hundreds, at least a couple of hundred pages, without the reader knowing that the villain is the villain. The villain may be one of the suspects, but we don't know which suspect is the real killer. It's the fun part of creating a mystery, but you really do have to know a lot about your villain in order to keep them hidden and to make the puzzle work. Okay, and then the sleuth. The sleuth is what most beginning writers think about. And yes, you really have to know your sleuth. You have to know your sleuth, because throughout the story you're going to set up conflicts and obstacles, and you need to know your sleuth's personality in order for them to react and respond to each of these conflicts according to their character, and yet surprise your reader. You want their responses for the reader to go, oh, because you want those surprises and those twists. You need to supply your sleuth with an armory of detecting skills, because that's part of the fun. But you really need to know the variety of those other character traits, because that's what creates that three-dimensional character that readers empathize with, and they really want to follow the sleuth on the journey of solving the puzzle. And your sleuth's difficulties arise from their strengths and weaknesses. They can blind them, either one, strengths or weaknesses, can blind them from seeing things, from hearing what a suspect is really saying. It's and you can't do that unless you know your character's personality really well. Um, you need to know their personal preferences and their antipathies, because you can weave those into your scenes and make them part of the conflict, even the minor conflicts that your sleuth encounters as they search for the villain. And actually, those traits, those personality traits, hold precedence over their physical traits as far as the story is concerned, because those are the things that engage your reader. And the more you know about your sleuth, the better able you be to give in-character responses to all the situations that confront your sleuth. And that knowledge will help you create imaginative and unique situations in your story, and any that follow in a series, especially if you're thinking about creating a series with the same sleuth. Man, you've got to know a lot about that character, because every story is going to be different, and all the suspects are going to put him or her in different situations. So you really need to know as much as you can about your sleuth. I liken it to, I had an editor working on one of my stories, and he said, well, maybe Argalika should say this, and I said he would never say that. And I knew that because I knew my character, and you want to know your character that well. You want to be able to know how they would phrase things, all those little details. You really want to know everything about your sleuth, and it's so much fun developing your character. So, the mystery triangle, the victim, the villain, the sleuth. So before you begin writing your story, you really want to work on the character development of all three of those mystery main characters. And you find as you develop your storyline and while you're writing, that your full knowledge of their character will help you refine your scenes. All right, I hope that really helped. It's something that's unique to mysteries, that we have three main characters, and that as writers, we need to develop those personalities for each of those three main characters, even though one is dead. I mean, it's just, it's a special challenge for mystery writers. So, keep writing. Also, I created a private Facebook group for mystery writers. It's free, just where we can get together and talk about mystery writing, to ask questions. I plan to go live once a week to talk about specifics of mystery writing, and I'd love to have you join. The link is in the description below. The group is called Mystery Writers Studio. So please go over on Facebook and check it out, or just click the link in the description below. So thank you very much for watching Write a Killer Mystery. If you like this episode, please subscribe and click that little notification bell so you'll know when the next episode goes live. And keep writing.